Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about Arrow, episode 809, titled Green Arrow and the Canaries, which premiered Tuesday, January 21st, 2020 on the CW. So, not only is this the penultimate episode before the series finale, but it is also meant to serve as the backdoor pilot of the potential spin-off featuring Mia Queen taking on the role as the Green Arrow. So before we get right into it, huge spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. My other video reminders are up on screen, so take a moment to remind yourselves of those. Also, I'm recording on January 22nd, so it's been about just over 24 hours since the episode has aired, so I had some time to digest. I've watched one reactor video for it, and that is one of them, and that is Abnormally Adam, just because also when I watch it I can able to watch the episode kinda again through the video, so that's something there. But otherwise I will try to do this in 15 minutes. So let's start the clock and let's begin with what happened in this episode. So timeline wise, this is set in a post-crisis world in Star City of 2040. So we don't, again, theoretically, it's happened 20 years since the crisis, but for our characters, we don't know in particular how long it's been, because specifically we do find out that Dinah and Laura are actually, they're not their 2040 versions of, they're not their future selves like we met in season 7, but they are the versions, the 2020 versions, the ones who fought alongside Oliver, the ones who were part of the crisis. So we don't know how long it's been for them since these events of going to 2040 and stuff. So we'll get right into that a little bit later. But ultimately, this episode, or the events of this episode, is theoretically supposed to take place after what's supposed to happen in the series finale. So it's a little weird when we get it beforehand, but how else are we supposed to get it? But anyways, there's that. Episode reminder is the fact that we get the return of the Green Arrow in the form of Mia. Oliver is not actually featured in this episode. Yes, he's referenced to a lot. We do see a bunch of photos. We get some old archive footage when we're dealing with memory montages, but he does not actually appear in the episode. I think this is one of the first times I think this is one of the only episodes where that is the case in this grand scope of the Arrow episodes, so that's something there. But episode breakdowns or storylines, I'm going to call it two different things. First one being The Awakening, and the second one being Kidnapping a Socialite. They are interconnected with each other, but the first one with Awakening, it pretty much deals with the 2020 Laurel finding the 2020 Dinah in 2040 and working together to awaken the new future Mia and give her back the memories of her former life, where she got to meet Oliver and take part in Crisis and all that fun stuff. And then the second storyline is, so now Mia has both sets of memories. She has her new original memories of where it's post-Crisis, and then she has her original memories that we have come to know from season 7. So there's that. Now the second storyline with Kidnapping a Socialite, we find out that Mia gets recruited to help the Canaries find her friend, which is Bianca Bertinelli, which is Helena Bertinelli's daughter, though we don't see her, it's just Bianca. And we find out that Trevor, who was Bianca's ex, he's the one that wears the Deathstroke mask, and we find out that he is working for someone, a woman, and he has the same tattoo that matches the arrowhead hosen that Oliver had given to Thea, and it ended up getting back to Oliver, and then the family heirloom that eventually got down to William. And that's how Mia makes the association of the tattoo having the resemblance to the hosen. So that's something there. It kind of leads off with that cliffhanger of, like, why is there that connection? Who is this mystery woman that go to Trevor to do this elaborate plan against Bianca? Because Bianca's death is supposedly what's supposed to kickstart the downfall of Star City in 2041, which is why Laura was there to begin with. But anyways, last moments of the episode showed JJ Diggle being attacked and also getting his original memories restored of him being the leader of the Deathstroke gang. So now he's going to be stuck with both sets of memories once as well. One set of memories where he is engaged to Mia, which I will get into, and then the other set of memories where they're like enemies against each other. So that's going into tidbits right now. So in the post-crisis future, we get Zoe still alive. We also got mentions of Renee completing his 3rd term as mayor, I believe. We also find out that Connor is in and out of rehab. So I guess if there might not be any Argus, so there's no Nighthawks or whatever, I think. Whatever group that he had founded in season 7. So there's that. We find out that William is running Smoke Tech, and he has a job waiting for Mia, who just graduated. Like, her big milestone in this episode is not only that she just graduated from university, but she just got engaged to JJ Diggle. Don't know where they stand now that both of them have both sets of memories in store for them, but that would be something there. It definitely reminds me, their situation now reminds me of the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where both are spies and they're suspecting each other of being spies, but they're kind of trying to figure it out without giving away their own cover, you know? So it's kind of, I feel like that kind of vibe is going to happen. But also now that she has both sets of memories, in post-crisis, she's in love and engaged to JJ, yet in the original timeline, they were former enemies. And then it's the reverse for with Connor. In the original way, she had feelings for Connor, and in post-crisis, she kind of can't stand him. So it's a little something there. But it looks like Connor is still part of the family. So it looks like the Diggle family not only had Sarah Diggle, but JJ Diggle, but then looks like they also adopted Connor, just based off the dynamic between Connor and JJ. Because if they weren't brothers, why exactly would you hang around with this guy? You know what I mean? So that's something there. Also, we do find that Mia lives in the Queen Manor. It looks like she's actually in Oliver's old room. So that's something there. We do find out that Dinah owns a bar and she lives above, in an apartment above it, which is kind of like the top part of a clock tower. And we find out that there are no records of Dinah Drake or the Black Canary in 2040. Her story is that the day after Oliver's funeral in 2020, she woke up being in 2040 and find out that there's no record of her existence or of the Black Canary. And since she had no way of getting back home, she was kind of stuck there. So this is kind of why we don't see an aged Dinah in this in 2040s, because this is the 2020 version. And then we find out that, like I mentioned before, in the future of 2041, there's supposed to be a massive crime spike that is started with the death of Bianca Bertinelli. And then Mia is supposedly labeled as the woman who failed the city soon afterwards. And Laurel, thanks to Sarah, was able to go to 2040 to kind of stop that crime spike from happening and stop Oliver's sacrifice from being ruined. So from that impression, from that tidbit, I gained the impression that maybe after Crisis or after Oliver's funeral, maybe Laurel goes on the Wave Rider, or she at least has Sarah dropping off at different parts in history or something. I don't know. Otherwise, why would she care of the events of the future? You know, I feel like she has to be a part of the legend somehow in order to get to that point, or maybe Sarah lets her know, like, there's a spike here, can you deal with it, type of a thing. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see about that, especially in hopes that this gets picked up for a spin-off, because this episode definitely, it does serve as a backdoor pilot. It has a lot of questions needing to be asked, a lot of cliffhangers, which I will talk about in a moment, but let's get into most shocking moment of the episode. I was surprised that there was no record of Dinah Drake. Like, that's like very surprising, just because of the fact that, like, I know, like, Earth Prime was created and, like, it merged a bunch of worlds together, but to completely erase her existence, it's like she must have been one of the anomalies that come from, like, treating her as if she's coming from another world, or like someone else maybe has taken her place. I'm wondering if maybe she just looked up one of her different aliases when she was undercover cop. I don't know, but just the idea that there was no trace of her anywhere after Crisis settled down, after post-Crisis settled down, it was just a surprise for me there. But moving on to top 3 favorite moments. I love the moment where Mia got her memories restored, even though it was very emotional just to have the whole montage of what she experienced and then to have the memories of her last moments with Oliver. That was completely, like, devastating just to know that, like, yes, he's officially dead. But I did like the fact that we get an understanding as to how a post-Crisis Mia would still be connected to being the Green Arrow, because this is the reason why she would be pulled back into that world. because at least with post-crisis Mia, the fact that she wouldn't remember made sense in a time-traveling sense. So that was a favorite there. But another favorite I did have was just the dynamic between Laurel and Dinah. The 2020 version, not only, I guess, I figured that they probably did it this way so they wouldn't have to keep on putting the aged makeup on them to continue with the fact that they're supposed to be 20 years older in this sense. So that's something there. But I just love their dynamic. It's great to see them together more as the two canaries and just riffing off of each other. You kind of get the sense in regards to Mia, like Dinah's gonna be like the nice aunt, and Laurel's gonna be like the tough love aunt type of a thing. So, or if anyone watches the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, it's kind of like Zelda and Hilda. I feel like in how like one's like a hard ass, the other one's like no, you like the soft and comforting type. So like I feel like that's what we might get with Laurel and Dinah and the Mia dynamic. But I love just getting the two canaries having a moment to digest the fact that like what has happened, how they're there, and like how they're gonna team up together. So that's something there. Also, it's just a lot of questions to figure out how they're dealing with post-crisis, how are they dealing with their own memories of pre-crisis and post-crisis. So I'm excited to know about that. And another favorite I did have was just the moments that we got to see with Mia and William, because this is them when they got to grow up together. So as opposed to season 7 versions of them where they just met each other. So it was really great to see them acting more like siblings that grew up together, recalling histories or memories together, especially when they had that whole Hosen pet rock thing going on there as well, and just the support between each other and everything. I was just like, I loved it. I can't wait to see that dynamic more. I really hope when the series gets picked up that William is not kept in the dark for long about her being the Green Arrow. I hope he's like brought in to be like their tech whiz and stuff, like Felicity used to be. So I can't wait to see about that. But moving on to top 3 peeve moments. I didn't really have an issue. The only issue I really would have had was just the cliffhangers. But I get why they'd have the cliffhangers, because they want to amp you up and get you excited for the possibility of a spinoff. But then I'm of the mindset of like, well, what if I don't get a spinoff? When do I get my answers? How am I going to get my answers? Because it's not like I'm going to get it in the upcoming Arrow episode, because that's going to be solely focused on Oliver's legacy and stuff, right? So from the cliffhangers, I want to know who attacked JJ at the very end and who restored his memories, because it has to be someone from the future or someone who is aware of crisis in order for them to know that there are memories that need to be uncovered. You know what I mean? Also, who attacked Mia and William? I have a feeling that they kidnapped William because they suspect that he's the Green Arrow. So they're kind of pulling what they did in the pilot episode of Arrow where Oliver was kidnapped and they were trying to draw him out, and then like the Hood came in. So it's just, I'm wondering if that's why they picked William, to see if like, are you actually the Green Arrow or not? But I want to know who's behind the actual like attack for them. And then also I want to know who Trevor is working for. Is it someone from Oliver's past? Is it a brand new character that we have to figure out who it is now? Is it someone that Mia knows in her post-crisis life and we have to figure out who it is now? Is it someone who's completely aware of the pre-crisis timeline or something? Like, I don't know, but I'm just excited to figure out what these questions are. But we'll get right into that for random questions, because there are a few more. But otherwise, I didn't really have an issue with this. What I liked about this episode was the fact that it featured female empowerment without expressing the fact that it was female empowerment. Because I know the Arrowverse a few times, when they're trying to do like the female-centric episodes, they kind of overdid it by saying like for female empowerment, like literally saying it. And I'm always told and taught that it's better to show something than to tell it. I'm still learning that now in school with a whole bunch of different ways that we can do that. But the fact that they were showing me how women can be badass in many different aspects of their life instead of telling me how they were, I prefer it this way, for sure. But what will I remember most when I look back on this episode? The fact that it's the backdoor pilot, first off. The fact, again, that Oliver wasn't featured at all in this episode, it kind of disappoints me, just because it's still an Arrow episode. I would have thought I wanted to see some kind of semblance instead of photos or old footage of him. But since he's dead, it's kind of possible. But maybe like just a memory, like a new footage is what I wanted, pretty much. flashback memory, which is kind of the same thing. Or maybe like a Spectre appearance if he's actually alive, because I still don't know what a Spectre is. But like there's that. But random questions very quickly. First one, Dinah said there were no records of her or of the Black Canary. Does that mean that there are no records of Laurel being Black Canary? Also, that's another thing too. Because Earth Prime has now merged, are there still records of Laurel 1 and Laurel of Earth 1 and Laurel of Earth 2? Or now they've just merged it all together, so Laurel of Earth 2 has now had all, like, everything. She's both of them now. Like, I don't know, because it seems like Laurel of Earth 2 still has the mindset of the fact that she is from a different Earth. Like, you know what I mean? So that's a question there. But that's more of like a post-crisis question than like a backdoor pilot kind of question. So that's something there. Second, who would want to restore JJ's memories? It has to be someone from Crisis, like I just said, or someone from pre-Crisis who's aware of who he was beforehand. And also, how did they get their hands on one of Cisco's rings, like rings that duplicate John Jones's powers, the memory transfer powers, like, you know. So that's something there. There's the timer, almost done. Second one that I just noticed though was that before the crisis happened, Dinah lost her ability to use the Canary Cry, and we saw that in season 7's version of 2040 that she has like a massive scar on her neck. She can't actually use the cry. But in the backdoor pilot, it looked like, I couldn't tell if it was the device or if she actually has her Canary Cry restored. So that's the question there. Did post-crisis allow for Dinah to get her powers back? That's one thing there. And another question is, and it's also just a question I got after seeing the Legends premiere, is the fact that would the events that, like right now, when they're when they have knowledge that a crisis is, or not, I shouldn't say crisis, that a crime spike is supposed to happen in 2041. Will this affect the 2044 future that Brehad and Zari are coming from Legends? Because they're coming from 2044, especially they said specifically that Brehad was born in 2020. So I'm wondering if whatever is happening or is supposed to be happening in the spinoff is going to affect, or it's going to triculate into Zari and her brother's future, or their present, but our Legends future. You know what I mean? So that's something there. But let's move on to predictions very quickly before I really go over the time. But promo, I'm not going to talk about it because it's just like, also it is the series finale. First off, it's a 2-hour event. The first hour is going to be more about like a lead into the series finale where you get interviews from the cast about the whole experience and everything. So there's that. You also got to remember the episode title is called Fade Out, which is like hits me so hard right now. So like that's something there. But the synopsis doesn't really give anything away. It just says that tagline, Stephen Amell signs off as the Green Arrow, and also that Emily Bett Rickards returns for the series finale of Arrow. And it reads, after 8 seasons and the launch of countless superheroes, the series wraps up the story of the Green Arrow, and then Emily Bett Rickards returns as Felicity. Now, I know I shouldn't have, but I did. I saw the promotional photos for the episode, and there's a lot of people that return. I won't say it, but there's a lot of people I had hoped to see return, and some that I had hoped would have appeared in Crisis during the president's little tribute speech to Oliver, just in that moment of silence. But then also there's a few faces there that I was shocked to see, and I'm pretty sure that post-Crisis is the reason for that. So I really need, like, I also need to know the explanation of that, and I really need to know if Oliver was aware that this was going to happen when he recreated the universe. So that is something there. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. What do you guys think of the backdoor pilot? What do you think will happen in the series finale? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your own thoughts, theories, opinions about all that. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I read blog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out. A little behind. I'm still dealing with a hell of a week at school. So be mindful of that. Also, WordPress account, link for that is down below. Anything I post online is connected to WordPress. A little more organized, a little more detailed, but still a work in progress. Same thing, still need to update that as well. But otherwise, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I will be coming back next week to see what I have to say about the series finale of Arrow. But until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Bye for now.